Welcome to episode 370 of Chew on This, a Nerds United podcast. I'm BJ.
Vic. Well, we are officially back with our first episode in, a year now?
Almost
and
a year, yeah.
Right. So we wanted to come back in a big way, and we didn't know that it was going to be this big. That's what she said. And so we have the entire production team, or almost the entire production team of the Paper Tigers. We spoke to Bao Tran last year about this movie that kind of just blew us out of the water, coming out of nowhere for us anyway. We didn't know about it. It was on Netflix and we watched it. And Bao was so great in coming on the show, and somehow he convinced everybody that's on right now to come on this show. And Michael is, before I sidetrack a little bit, is the only one that actually has ever listened to our podcast. He is the first one to ever listen to the show before actually coming on. So that is, literally nobody has ever listened to our show before coming on. You are the first person, and it took 6 years plus 1 year hiatus to get somebody to listen to our show.
Don't forget the 1 year
before
hiatus.
Coming on.
I feel bad. I only listened to our episode.
No, it's fine.
That's all right. That's fine. That's one more.
I'm pretty sure, like a virtue. Thank you. Yeah.
This is Bao's second time on it, and you probably listened to the show one more time than he did. So, I don't think Bao's listened to it yet.
Bao's a busy man.
Right. So we have the entire team. Please go around the room, the virtual room, and just because there's so many of you, introduce yourself and please tell the audience what you guys did on Paper Tigers.
Start with Huge. Actually, start with Huge.
Huge. Go Huge.
Well, if we could start in circle. It doesn't matter.
We go Senpai Yuji.
Senpai. There you go.
That's right. Yuji Okumoto here. I was one of the producers for the Paper Tigers, and I played the waiter.
I'm Bao Tran, the writer-director, and Popcorn Michael.
What does popcorn mean?
Pass it on.
It means your turn.
Oh,
He clearly hasn't worked a day in his life.
I'm Michael Velasquez. Stop cutting me off. I forgot what I was going to say. What's my name again? I'm Michael Velasquez. I'm also one of the producers on the Paper Tigers.
And my name is Al'n Duong. I'm also another producer on Paper Tigers.
Well, thank you all again for coming on. And I know everybody's really busy, but this is a great way for us to come back. And I can't really say thank you enough for showing up and being on our show for our comeback episode.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
Thank you.
This is kind of a question for everybody here. How did you guys all become involved? Well, no, Bao, I mean, he wrote and directed it, but I mean, how the rest of you guys become involved in Paper Tigers? That's something Bao should maybe be able to talk about too. Like, how did you get these guys involved and all that? How did you rope them in?
He had this terrible idea for a script, and then he gave it to us to kind of rewrite it, and then I was like, oh, we need to bring Alan on because he knows about dialogue and I know about action, and Bao's just like
was Bao's original script starting with 2 droids on a desert planet? That's how you rewrote it.
Did he write it in crayon on a napkin?
I think it would have been a better film. I still to this day I insist that would have been stronger.
He sounds like Bao just literally handed him a napkin written in crayon. He's like, it's like here, do something with this.
It actually looked like your stick figure guys there.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Okay, so he submitted the script to you guys, and you basically just tear it apart, or did you guys
I met Bao at the Los Angeles Asian American Film Festival in 2004, 2005. If you've been to these film festivals, there's just a lot of content that you've seen before because you've been doing these film festivals for a long time. And Bao was the first person I ever saw actually get up and walk out of a screening at a film festival, which you don't do. So I was like, oh, he did it first. So I go.
And that movie was Revenge of the Sith. No.
It was Showgirls. It was Showgirls.
It was Showgirls. Yeah.
No, we wouldn't walk out of that. But we started drinking together, and watching and walking out of a bunch of other short films and became friends. And he had a short film called Bookie that he invited me to work on, and I drove up to Seattle and met all the other guys, and we've been friends ever since.
Nice.
Yeah,
Well, I think your
that's
ride's here.
Michael. No, and then that's where I met Bao, was on his short film Bookie. I was a grip, and like Vietnamese directors around the same age, or filmmakers around the same age is and something that you don't run into every day. And so we had mutual friends. I had a mutual friend who worked on a short film, got pulled into this short film, and just what really stood out was the fact that like meeting Michael, Bao, and this is also when we met Ken, who is the villain in the Paper Tigers. That's when we all met, and there was just this level of camaraderie, and then also the fact that we were all Asian, people of color, like coming together and making a film was just something that was unheard of during that time, 2005, 2006. And so I just really wanted to stick around these guys and kind of learn more about how we all could eventually make a feature film together. And that was the promise that we had for a long time, and it took since 2005, 2006 when Bookie was made, and that same core crew came back together to make the Paper Tigers. And so so that's pretty much how I got tricked into making the Paper Tigers. Yuji, what was your story?
So I got involved in this project due to a momentary lapse of good judgment. So I worked with Bao on a short film called Black Coffee, and I just enjoyed working with him, and he had asked me after working on the shoot. It must have been a few years later. And he asked me if I was interested in helping him produce this kung fu project. And it was I read the script. I loved the script. It was great because I was a huge fan of martial arts movies, and hearing the storyline and his take on it, and the whole minority aspect of it. It was great, and anything that I can be a part of, of a film that helps to create, good lead roles for minority actors, then I'm all down for that.
That's awesome. Was there any inspiration in the fighting, like the choreography and stuff? Like, did you guys play with different types of fighting styles, or was there something specific you were looking for? Like, I know you guys are all huge fans of martial arts films, and I know Vic and I are huge fans, but was there something like you kind of drew from, like a certain film or a mishmash of films where you decided like we're going to use these different types of fighting styles?
Yeah, I mean, I was working with our longtime collaborator and action director Ken Kitagawa for these 10 years was nice in the sense that obviously it took a long time to raise money, but it also gave us time to R&D and to kind of like do research and talk about things and share clips. And so it was kind of a long, extended, inspirational phase, right? I think we were trying to figure out what it could look like, because it was honestly it's not something that we had seen before, because it was something that where you have these out of shape guys that are a little clumsy, a little behind their step, but how do you show them a little beyond their prime, but still have a little skill, and where's that fine line about that what that would look like. So it was a bit of a mishmash between all these different things. I think the overarching thing, what we always thought of was like, okay, Shaw Brothers at street fight, right? So Shaw Brothers, you have like really beautiful shapes, really like classical kung fu, but what does that look like in a street fight where it's a little bit messier, and they're a little behind on things. I think Sha Po Long was really inspirational too. Donnie Yen like had during that run with doing more improvisational kind of like half beat stuff versus like strict choreography, 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s, right? It was always kind of like you didn't know when he was going to come, but he was going to come for you. So it had that kind of spontaneity that was really nice. So that felt like natural, because we were going for a natural thing where a lot of that the newer stuff that we had seen kind of like got into the fantastical stuff. So we were really trying to kind of bring it back to basics.
Yeah, no wire fu and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, we couldn't afford it,
Yeah.
so it's part of function
That's
and
great.
form or whatever, whichever
Yeah.
goes first. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we kind of knew like that wasn't a thing, so we kind of went down the other way.
Nice.
I think the thing Bao was sending us most of was all these online or underground fight videos, just these crappy fight videos of people
It's like
doing
my
actual challenge
favorite part.
matches or like street fights, and how it's sloppy, and someone gets in a great shot and then they're knocked out right there and the fight's over.
Yeah.
I remember.
Well, I mean, the great thing about those fight videos, we actually had like this private channel where we were sending each other all of these like real YouTube fights, and I think what a part of that research was actually the story was before the fight, and then and also at the end of the fight as well, how people acted, right? Because in the beginning, everyone's posturing, everyone's, like talking shit, right? And
yeah.
and so and you have a lot of that, and then that person who's talking shit ends up losing, and then now you kind of watch their mannerisms after that. And so that was kind of more of the story that we were kind of looking at in terms of like, Danny or all the other characters, like what happens when you start the fight, you're talking shit, and then at the end, how do you lick your wounds, how do you compensate after a loss like that. So
Nice.
Is that what drew you guys to? I don't know who made the last, like who discovered them or made the last call. Bao, you kind of mentioned a little bit about it. Is that how you met asked about the Lee brothers to come on and play the parts that they did through the sharing YouTube videos and stuff like that? Because that's how they got started, right? Like they're self-taught, just like the guys.
Yeah, we
in the
made Martial
show.
Club. Let's take all the credit. We made all of their success. Everything all at once. That's all their success owes to us. They were doing their own thing, as you know. I mean, they were like so talented, putting up their stuff on YouTube, doing shorts, and on Instagram as well. So it was something that we were always watching as fans. And we had made a short film before this called The Challengers. That was kind of like, I guess you could call it a kind of a proof of concept or a little bit of kind of experimentation with the filming style and the slow motion and Danny vision and all the stuff we were playing with, all that. So that had Andy Lee face off with Kidwa. So that was kind of like something I always knew that he was talented, and then also his brother was like someone that we wanted to somehow figure out how to get involved as well. So they were always kind of on the periphery. It was almost like, with a movie, it's like you want these people, but you can't really. It's never real until you actually get the train going. So we always kept in touch, always followed their stuff, and really followed their progress and development, because they each year that you can see them level up. They're amazing, and they continue to level up. So it's something that we always wanted to be able to have in the film.
Yeah, I mean they're actually obviously doing really well right now with Everything Everywhere All at Once, winning all the awards.
And Shang-Chi.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Oh,
so
man.
they're doing pretty well. Yeah. But I will say though, your movie, when I say your, I mean all of you guys, your movie actually beat Shang-Chi as like the best movie of 2021, according to Rotten Tomatoes. You guys know that, right?
We say the same thing to everybody
I've-
who listened as well, though. So
It's okay. Say it again. Just like
you have the best.
What's
you have
this?
the best.
I didn't hear this. Yeah.
yeah. This is new.
I should have had a poster, like just
Right? Number one.
Just that. Yeah, you guys are
Action
number
film of
one.
the year.
I think you guys are also like number
Like the
one
all-time number
as
one
well,
action
though.
movie. Yeah.
Which I'm sure you
I
guys
mean,
know
it's
that too,
just
right?
it's just an aggregator. It just happens to be the most important aggregator that's out there. I mean,
Not a big deal.
Whatever.
Not a big deal.
Did you guys get that certified fresh thing or no? Or they only give that to the big, like the giant?
We did.
Marbles?
What's funny is Wellgo, our distributor, when they had to put out the DVD artwork on a deadline, but we hadn't quite reached the minimum number of reviews to get certified fresh. But they just took a risk and said, we're going to put it on there anyway. And they had all this DVD art printed, and it was out there. We're just waiting like a couple more reviews, guys.
That's amazing. All right.
Yeah.
That's wild, because it's just, if you look back on the Martial Club being kind of the common DNA, but you have Shang-Chi Us and Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's kind of crazy that you had these three martial arts films come almost pretty close succession to each other, but also of really different budget levels and different production levels. And I just think it's a really, really flattering to kind of be part of that conversation. Or just kind of get lumped in on all of that. So I think it's we're in a very interesting time and excited to see what comes in the future.
Yeah,
I wonder if
Thanks,
the Lee
Marshall Club.
brothers. I wonder if the Lee brothers now. Remember, like back growing up in the '80s, and you know, obviously for me it was the '80s where the Asians played like the token character, right? Like they either were a waiter or a laundromat person or somebody who didn't speak real English very well and was like the comedy relief. I wonder if like now the Lee brothers are like the token martial art Asian brothers, that they're going to be in every single martial arts movie, because they were in the three biggest ones in 2021 or 2022, right? Like, so
yeah,
they could be the token martial art guys.
I think I think they're going to get a chance to show off their own brand of humor now, because you know that fight they do in Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's not like you could grab any talented martial artist and say, "Hey, you know what we want you to do is fight with dildos up your ass." Like, not everyone's going to say okay to that. So not only do they
took
have
a
sense
shot
of humor about themselves, they're like willing to do that. And yeah, I think they're not, I think they're going to go more in like that kind of direction where they get to show off their what makes them unique.
That's cool.
Well, one of the best things about your movie is that you guys show the fight scenes in a way where it's not so close up. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen this movie, but there's this movie out there with Steven Seagal fighting Mike Tyson. Is it Mike Tyson? I think. And
I think it is Mike Tyson. The quick edits.
The fight scene. The fight scene is cut after every single punch or block, and it's literally just an edit of all, because there's times where you see Steven Seagal move and it's so slow, and now you can understand why they cut everything so close together. What's great about your movie,
but
I guess, I don't know.
Yeah,
but
it's
you
bad.
Watch the stunt breakdown of that. It's because neither of them are in the same room at the same time. It's when you see Steven Seagal, he's fighting Mike Tyson stuntman. When you see Mike Tyson, he's fighting a Steven
What?
Seagal.
Is that true?
Almost positive.
Oh my gosh, that would explain a lot. But it's so bad. We watched it on YouTube like several times. It is the worst thing I've ever seen. It's so bad.
But you guys, your movie, you show, you know, and Everything Everywhere All at Once, everything is backed out. Because I hate when action and fight scenes. I'm so used to watching the Jackie Chan movies that show, you know, you put in all these months of work, and then all of a sudden the director puts the camera like right on your face, and you can't see any of the action sequences and all the great things they're doing.
That was our complaint with the Batman Begins, wasn't it? And then they kind of took that and kind of panned out after that. Because
that was an artistic thing. The Batman Begins. Anyway,
well,
so
I mean, still, I want to see him fight.
Well, one of the great things about your guys' movie so far, because it's been out for a while now, is I have it on iTunes, and I watched all the extra footage stuff. Right, I watched all the deleted scenes. I watched the bloopers. Now, the blooper part only shows a little bit, like 7 minutes or so. When you guys were on set, who was the best improver? Was it Matthew Page? Because he's in it a lot for improving. Like,
it's probably Ron, right?
Well, Ron was the best.
I mean, them two together.
They played off of each other a lot.
I think they all fed off each other for sure. Yeah, there's all those things. Even when we were doing the edits, like even you have the flashier Hing versus Carter riffs and stuff like that. But you see all the little stuff that like Elaine is doing, or little stuff that Mikkel's doing. Only went during the edit, because you're seeing, trying to take a look at what the other actors are doing. They're doing a lot of subtle stuff. They're doing kind of the straight man stuff too. So it's a really cool to watch, them all kind of work together and not necessarily hog the spotlight, but kind of like know where to kind of like fit in and where to kind of lean back. And so I think they were all definitely feeding off each other.
Yuji, in your scenes, did you improv in your scenes at all? Especially when you first meet your character, when they first show up and they're just sitting there not doing anything and don't want to order anything.
Yeah, I tried, but Bao says, don't do that.
Stick to the script.
Read the words on the
Hollywood.
Don't change a thing.
Script. Yeah. David Mamet. So
right.
I think the second scene where I appear at the end, there was a chance to kind of riff, and it was great because to be able to throw in the Karate Kid little thing and Ron just picked up on it, and it was great. Yeah, it was nice, but because I think Bao works as an actor's director, so he knows what he wants, but then yet he lets the actors play a little, and
Right.
I think that's what gave the actors the freedom to try different things. And when you allow actors to kind of stretch and play a little, then amazing things kind of happen, which is the chemistry that happened between all the actors. It was amazing to watch them because they would just play off of each other. And Elaine, like Bao was saying, he was pretty much the kind of the straight guy. But if you don't have a great straight guy, you're not going to have the comedy there. So my hat's off to all the leads. They really delivered. Even the other actors, they all stepped up, because I think at the end of the day they believed in the project and what it was about and what it was for. So I think that was the beauty of being involved in a production like this. We're all there for the right reason.
Now, when you said they brought up the reference for the Karate Kid, what's that? Is that a movie you've done before?
Yeah, I think so.
What,
You
Karate
guys mentioned it
Kid?
before.
I don't. Yeah.
Is that movie's from the 90s, right? 80s. Okay.
He's not on camera right now, but right now he's wearing the full Chosen gi and everything. He just walks around. That's his everyday.
Yes.
Just
And I
rides
wear
around in the
Geta
yellow,
too.
the yellow one, right? Not the one that he's wearing
Yes.
on Cobra Kai, but the
Not
yellow one.
The yellow one.
Old school.
Your kids,
Right.
the kids don't want you driving them to school anymore. Stop dropping me off at school.
Yuji's offering autographs to everyone. They're like,
Yeah, please, come on. You want an autograph, kid? Take one.
4-year-old.
He's like he's spinning the drums, and Yuji's like, get those away from me.
Who is this guy?
Get those stupid drums away from me. Yuji, this is for you, because oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Vic, sorry.
No, go ahead. All right.
Well, this is because you mentioned 80s, and I literally would be kicking ourselves in the butt if we didn't ask you just take a second, because two of our favorite movies growing up is Real Genius and Better Off Dead.
Better Off Dead.
I mean, two classic comedies. But what do you remember about Real Genius and Better Off Dead? Like what was that experience like to do like some comedy and things like that?
It was so foreign to me because, after, everything I've done, I had done a lot of theater prior to that. And then I came onto a film called Aloha Summer, which was a casting director that cast me in, I think, Better Off Dead, and also cast me in Karate Kid. So when she brought me in for Better Off Dead, I did this Howard Cosell with a Japanese accent because I thought it'd be funnier, because if he learned English from watching Wide World of Sports, you're not going to lose that accent. So when I did the audition, it was just, I think they found it hysterical because of the Howard Cosell speaking with a Japanese accent. And coincidentally, they were auditioning for Real Genius, and I got both at the same time.
Oh,
so
wow.
I go from one set to the other. So it was pretty fantastic to be able to have two gigs at once and going from one set to the other. It just gets kind of confusing sometimes. On Real Genius, I have a line and I said, wait, what is that? A Howard Cosell accent?
You're like, no.
What?
Wrong movie.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, I was somewhere else. But no, it was great. Loved the experience on both of them. That's the heyday. I mean, that's, you had so many of these kind of quirky 80s films, and I was blessed to be part of two of those, because, Better Off Dead wasn't, a hit at the box office, but it found its legs when it came out later on. Yeah.
I want my $2. That's
$2. Yes.
All right. Well, since you mentioned the Howard Cosell impression, because I read all about that. I know you interviewed about that, but can you do like in a Howard Cosell impression? Can you say in your best Howard Cosell voice, "Welcome to Chew on This, a Nerds United podcast"?
What was the thing? Welcome to Chew on
So
This.
welcome to Chew on This, a Nerds United podcast. In Howard Cosell, the best Howard Cosell that you can do.
Okay. Welcome to Chew on This, a Nerd United podcast. Lane Meyer.
Thank you.
Doug. So my accent was really different because you can't say L, it's an R. So with the Japanese accent, it was all different. So just to give you an idea of what happened was I did this stuff on set and people were dying because it sounded so foreign to them. And then the complaint was they couldn't understand what I was saying in the dialogue because it was all jumbled, right?
So they had to dub it?
Yeah, that's why they brought in Rich Little to keep it, straight and not do the accent. So
Rich Little.
That's kind of what happened.
Oh my God.
So
Rich Little.
Yeah. He was the man at the time.
He was.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of like who is the man now that does a lot of impressions. Like I know like Dana Carvey, but I don't know. Yeah, I remember Rich Little back in the day. Holy cow. He was everywhere.
Yeah, definitely.
So Bao, there's this great shot in, well, I think it's a great shot in when they're trying to walk around the underground gym and they're trying to listen for the sound. And this is why I like watching like movies and shows over and over again, because I pick up on things that I never picked up on before. And I didn't get a chance to ask you about it the first time. So they're walking around and Hing hears the sound, right? And then Jim hears the sound, but they're standing on either side. But then all of a sudden, Danny walks into the frame in the background and the camera shifts focus.
Mm-hmm.
How much planning was involved in that? And did you have that shot in your mind from Front Street, like how you were going to do that shot?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think there's a lot of factors when indie film, because you have a great idea or you have kind of a general gist of what you want to do, but it's never really concrete until you have a location figured out, and also kind of like where people are and blocking and position wise. So it was kind of like, it was definitely an idea that I always had kind of a general sense of what needed to happen. But I think it was until we were there that we started figuring out how to use the rack and how to kind of use the depth of where they were and how they're positioned. I think that was a little bit more on the day of. Because I don't think we knew our location until the day of. No, we knew the location, but it's just like when you actually do kind of do the walkthrough and walk around, that's when you start kind of like staging it. But yeah, it worked out really nicely, I think. So I'm glad you picked up on that. But yeah, exactly kind of the way they were. And also we were trying to find, to give Danny enough depth and the background and where to place him and kind of lock him right on. But just kind of a harrowing element is that, for indie film, again, we were only there for half a day. So we actually had to like wrap all our scene in the dungeon before lunch. So that was, I think, one of our last shots right before lunch. So it was a bit of running by the seat of our pants to try to pull off all of that. Cool. So yeah.
Shout out.
You got that shot in half a day. That's insane.
That's insane.
You got that in half.
Yeah.
Michael and Al, did you for the whole production team? Did you guys split? This is a question for Michael and Al. Did you guys split like the duties of what you guys were doing? Like, was somebody in charge of certain parts of the production, or it was all hands on deck?
A combination of both. Everyone had things that they had to deal with, just because when you start off, you get a responsibility and that just kind of becomes yours, because it doesn't necessarily make sense to give it to someone else who didn't start from the ground. But once you're on set, if something needs to be done, just whoever's there can do it.
Yeah.
Also, sorry. Shout out to Sean Mayer on our DP, who was part of the original bookie crew that we met back in the day.
Yeah. No, and funny backstory to starting production is that we spent so long trying to fundraise and get all this money together to make this movie that it just suddenly hit us one day that we actually reached the point where we could greenlight the production, right?
That's awesome.
And mentally, as an indie filmmaker, like you spend so much more time fundraising that you forget that there's still pre-production, there's production, and all that,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so when it hit us that we were green lit, you know, I was making the calls to, you know, the old bookie gang. I was like, hey, it's a go. And then like finally it dawns on you that, oh shit, we have to run a production now. And so like it's just
What are
like,
we gonna do?
exactly. And so like and so our pre-production was really short, you know, like we didn't have enough time to prep. You know, like and thank God, you know, at least all of our actors had some action skills that, you know, they picked up the movement really quick. And so the prep time, you know, and Bao can attest to this, is that, you know, like we definitely needed a little bit more time. You know, like there's never enough time really on the producing side. It's like, oh my God, now I have to make sure all the money, you know, lands at the same time. You know what I mean? And just like we're paying for things left and right. And then you know, like there's so many fires.
Crew, like
there's just so much stuff.
You've only been getting handshake promises from these crew that you want, and then suddenly you have the money and you're like, hey, and they're like, oh no, I jumped on a show that's actually going to pay me, you know, real money or something.
Right.
You gotta find the next person,
Yeah.
So the actors only had like 3 official days to rehearse the choreography, because due to a snafu, I guess on my part, but I blame the union.
It's not you. It's not you.
They almost shut our production down, like not letting the actors rehearse. And fortunately, Bao and Sean were able to use that time to sort of come up with the shots that because like Alan said, suddenly you got to go. And so they use that time to get
You just said 3 days? That's it?
3 official rehearsal days of that choreography, because 2 days, we lost 2 days because we got shut down early in pre-production.
Holy shit. 3 days? To rehearse the action scenes or just rehearse in general?
Both, I guess, right? That's the time they had with
everything.
you.
That just blows me away, because like we watched, you know, like a fucking stupid show like Iron Fist, where they had way more money and more budget, more time, and the fighting looks like shit, you know. So I mean, that's incredible. That's absolutely incredible, because when you watch the movie, like everything that you're saying blows my mind, because when you watch the movie, it's like flawless. It's like such a great movie. Like it doesn't sound like there were any kind of issues. So maybe that's just a testament to you guys, like actually coming together as a team and putting something together so wonderful like that you didn't need, I don't know, it just looked like you had all the time to do all that stuff, you know. That's
the
incredible.
Actors, the fight team, they're all very talented. The actors are busting their ass outside of that official rehearsal time.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you have meetings and you talk about stuff like, but the actual day's rehearsal schedule, like where they're actually all in the room together, then that was the schedule that we had. But it's kind of crazy. Like, you know, Alan mentions that gear shift, but it is, because you can ideate for 10 years until it's real. It's like, oh, it's a real, like, what is this in real states? What does the location actually look like? What are they wearing? You know, all the really nitty gritty actualities of production start to come up. And so I think it was a testament to, you know, to kind of like dillying around for 10 years. They're having like that soft research. The action team kind of knew. I didn't have to kind of sit them down, and they already knew like the movie we're trying to make from the get. And so they already kind of knew the marching orders. And once we threw in the actors, now they figure out the choreography, because you can't have choreography until you really know what their body shapes and their abilities are.
Yeah,
so it's like, there's only so much you can, you know, prep or daydream about until you actually have real human beings. So that was a weird gear shift that we had, and it was just scrambling from that point.
Unbelievable.
That's
so
insane.
It's incredible, because the movie it doesn't look like that. It just looks like you guys made a movie.
Well,
we made a movie. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
This question goes out to everybody. So I've watched enough about your interviews for the show, for the movie, and, you know, I've talked to you about this in the last episode. You know, was everybody on board when they tried to change out Danny's character or nationality, or were you guys all on board at that point in time? Like, how many of you were part of that discussion where
I was totally on board with it? I was like, why, if we could get Bruce Willis, let's get Bruce Willis, guys.
I wanted the $4 million. I don't know. I was outvoted.
Hindsight has shown us exactly.
Oh my God. I can't.
Yeah,
I can't imagine.
That was in the fundraising phase, and we were all already. I mean, all of us have been on for what 8 to 10 years, so
Yeah.
we were all there.
Yeah.
And those meetings are interesting. I heard Bao describe a little bit of it in his interview, so I've actually listened to 2 episodes, guys.
Yeah,
As he
that's
explained
2
it-
more than anybody else.
Yeah, as he explained, they basically have this like math that they do, and this actor is worth this amount of money, and the actors that we had in mind at the beginning, they just didn't move the needle enough, so they were just throwing these ideas out there, and yeah, those are actual suggestions because they know they can get this amount of money and it'll sell, that'll pre-sell right away. Like you'll get a bunch of money up front, but it's not like we would see any of that. It's these early on investors who get to take their cut right off the top, and they're like, I'm done, and then they don't give a shit.
But don't you because don't you think, like, let's say you did get a Bruce Willis or whoever, doesn't that just change the whole production? Like, doesn't that just, like, Bao has to go back and like, well, now I got to write for Bruce Willis a little bit because he's going to want to ham it up or whatever. Like, don't you have, like, do you change like the essence of the film? Now it's something completely different.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it would change. It would change my life to a yacht. It would change my.
I'm
on a boat, bitch.
Yeah,
that's where I'm recording this from.
Demi Moore. Hey, Demi, how
yeah.
you doing these days?
Exactly.
Shit.
I would have been fully on board if it was Nicolas. I would have been fully on board if it was Nicolas Cage. I thought.
Well, he's crazy. I mean, yeah, he could pull it off.
Yeah,
I thought that was the way to go, was Nicolas Cage. But
yeah.
I mean, everybody in the movie. What's really good about this is that everybody actually is great in the role that they're in. Like, I don't think I've ever seen Matthew Page in anything, and I instantly fell in love with that character when he showed up as that character. Like, because in the beginning he's just getting his ass kicked as a teenage self, but him showing up later on, I mean, some of my favorite scenes are with him in it, messing, the banter going back and forth. I think I mentioned in the last show, like, some of our favorite scenes in Marvel movies is when they're just sitting around talking.
Just bullshit.
Like in that one scene, like in Age of Ultron, when they're all trying to talk shit to each other about lifting Mjolnir up, and that banter back and forth is what I loved, and I love the banter back and forth in this movie too, with Carter and the rest of the guys.
Yeah, I mean, you can imagine it in another way. I mean, I think like back to the question about changing, it's like you can make a movie or make a script into a movie any which way, like a million different ways you could do it. But it's like, but what are we setting out to do? What are we kind of intended to do? And like, that's really the only thing that's in your control. Whether, it kind of fulfills the vision that we had in the first place. So I think for all of us, I think Michael was the one that kind of reported back, the notes and all the things, because he's in LA and he's the one kind of having all the meetings. And so I think we were all definitely have one sound mind of just kind of like, okay, well, thanks, but no thanks. So, it was never even a consideration to like, oh, should we or shouldn't we? It was just kind of like, okay, that's a dead end. And so, yeah, I mean, but again, it's like, that's not to say that things have changed. Like, it's still like those numbers and those projections, everyone has those breakdowns right now, and it still exists, in financing a film now in this day and age. It's still like, again, all credit and all credit and flowers for everything everywhere all at once, for sure. But I think we're also in this age where we feel like it's the Obamas, where it's like, hey, racism's over, right? Like, this movie won all the awards, but it's not. Like, the struggle's still there. Like, we still have a lot of work to do to still continue on. And that's the reality. If we can kind of pull the veil back about, what it means to kind of like even get a movie off the ground, there's a lot of levers that have to get pulled to make that happen.
I'm sure, Yuji, you could speak to this, right? Like, what is there roles that you throughout your life that you've had or auditioned for where they're just like, no, we're just going to hire some white guy instead of you?
Well, I'm sorry. I thought you forgot about me after that shitty Howard Cosell.
No, that was amazing. Thank you.
No,
very much,
we're gonna recut that and use that for our intro from now on. Just so you know, this entire podcast was just to get you to do our
just
intro.
to get you to say that. Now we stopped recording like a half hour ago. Anyway,
so I'm sorry. What was the question about missing out on some roles because of the color of my skin?
Yeah. Have you? Do you remember like one role that was really big that you lost out to because you weren't white, basically? That did they that recast the role?
No, because it's funny. I think a lot of times the producers or whomever um, or the networks may just have quotas they have to hit as far as casting. You have to bring in a certain amount of minority actors for roles. So as far as any roles that I missed out on, or I thought, oh yeah, it's because of me being Asian American. Yeah, there's plenty, right? Where you think, why waste my time? I know what's going to happen
Mm.
at the end of the day, and I understand that it's about dollars and cents to them, and they look at marketability, and so I know what to expect pretty much when I go in for something. I said, this is obviously they're just having us come in to meet that quota of actors being seen by casting and all that stuff, because they do keep stats on all that. So I get it. It's a business, and if you take it personally, then you're gonna eventually quit the business.
All right.
And so I don't take any of that personally. I just do the best work I possibly can and try and change their mind. But at the end of the day, I know what the end result is going to be. Doesn't preclude me from putting the time in. But when you think about projects like this is why it's so important. This is why it's so important for all Asian Americans to kind of step up and create Asian American stories and put them out there. Otherwise,
Right.
we're never going to be heard. And it's about visibility and representation. And I learned way back in the day that the cavalry ain't coming. It's up to us to kind of put ourselves on the map and be marketable and be, important and relevant. So I think the only way to get there is to tell our stories, and hopefully that'll lead to more crossover roles for us to be able to be casted, right?
Mm.
We usually do something at the end. Bao knows about this, so we want to give everybody a chance to join in on that one. So just before we get to that, the ending, are there any projects that anybody wants to plug that they're working on, or your websites that we can find you on, or and the audience can find you on?
Social medias.
Yeah. Anybody want to go?
I'll plug something for Matthew Page. He wrote and directed a pretty lean, slow burn thriller called Cop vs. Killer.
Oh.
It's currently on the festival run, but definitely look out for it. And have you had a chance to check out any of his Master Ken stuff?
No, I've not.
You need to watch
No.
it. You need to watch it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say
sure.
goodbye to your next 8 hours.
It's fantastic. Like
Yeah.
that's pretty
I'm
much
down.
where that's pretty much where most of us like learned about Matt Page. I was a huge fan of his YouTube show, and then like that's when he was kind of on the map for me for um sort of this role in the Paper Tigers. And then but lo and behold, we had a connection through Yuji actually that connected us with Matt Page. So
Yeah, and then Mikkel, who played Jim, he's got a sequel to a movie that he wrote and directed coming out called Gods 2. So be on the lookout for that as well.
Right on.
And Ron's
So-
film. Ron has
Yeah,
a film,
Ron's
just directed a
film's
film,
now-
47 Ronin, on Netflix right now.
Right.
Oh, right on.
I think Yoshi Sudarso, any other of our casts that we share.
I don't think so, not that I can think of, but that's a dope film. And if you like a lot really well shot action, the two
It's
leads
fun.
have a lot of good banter, so I highly recommend that.
Nice.
And of course, there's Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What was
this
it?
little
Oh,
indie project called
just
Cobra Kai.
yeah, Yuji, real quick. What was that like when Cobra Kai started? Yuji, did you were you expecting a phone call? Did you think you would get a phone call to reprise that role?
No, not at all.
Oh.
Everybody was asking about that. When the first season dropped, I thought it was great. It's really a great homage to the old classic Karate Kid, and what I loved about it, they flipped the the script as far as
Mm.
Ralph and Billy. They changed their kind of characters a little bit, which is great. And so, when I saw that, I thought, well, I wonder if they're going to bring back some of the old characters from Karate Kid. And sure enough, I did finally get a call to appear in season 3, and it was amazing to talk to the showrunners. John, Josh, and Hayden are really great guys, and they're always open to input from the actors, especially the ones that are coming back from the whole Karate Kid universe. Only because of the fact that we kind of know our characters. But I was kind of mistaken because those guys are so passionate about the Karate Kid world that they knew more about that than I did. So it's crazy.
That's
But
awesome.
they pitched me the idea and where the direction of the character was going to go, and I said, I initially told them I read the first run of it, and I said, I'm not interested. I'm going to pass. And which case they were kind of shocked, and they immediately called my agent and said, "What the hell? Why?" And so
They called your mom. They're like, "Hey,
yeah, come on, talk to him.
yeah,
So I had a conversation after that, and I said, "Look, I want this guy to, have this change in his character, kind of bring in a little more humor, humanity, just a more of a 3-dimensional kind of character." And they totally got it. And I said, "Look, I don't want him to lose that edge, though. I still want him to kind of have that ability to flip that switch and kick somebody's ass in a heartbeat."
I love
So they got that, and they ran with it. They sent me the new revisions, and I said, "Perfect. Let's do this."
That's how I got to ask real quick, and we'll get to the big finish. I'm sorry, you guys. How satisfying was it after all these years to honk that dude's nose?
Well, okay. I'll be honest with you. The initial setup, which I didn't approve of, there was no payoff. So when they first had me introduced to Ralph in the bar, they had me apologize to Ralph, and I said, "Well, why would I apologize to the guy?
No,
The guy's too proud. He would never apologize,
no.
and he would never kowtow to him. He would come in and then just say his piece, but never lose that edge, never lose that pride and honor." And so when they told me about this honk, I said, "Well, there's no payoff. So I think he's got to come in hard, set up that joke at the end, and then there's a bigger payoff." So
I did not see it coming, and I don't know why. I've seen those movies so many times. I didn't see it coming, and then when it happened, I jumped off the couch. I thought that was I was just cheering. I just thought it was. I'm like, "Yeah, Ralph. Yeah." Daniel said, "It's about time."
yeah,
All right.
I love those guys. I tell you, that's the best set I've worked on in many years, besides the Paper Tigers.
Good save.
Best set in maybe 4 years. Yeah.
It was fabulous. The guys are all just very wonderful, gracious, giving actors. So to be part of this whole reunion, in a sense, was a blessing, because
That's awesome.
who would have thought 37 years later, boom, right?
Yeah, amazing.
How many, I don't look it now, but I used to be in shape and played college football, and I've done a lot of push-ups. How many push-ups do you need to do to get the pecs that you had in Karate Kid 2? Because your pecs in Karate Kid 2 are ridiculous.
He still got them.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
I wish they were still that way. Now they're down to my navel. But yeah, it was a lot of working out and cutting, and because my body fat at that time for Karate Kid was probably like 3%. It was really low.
Damn.
Wow.
So
Crazy.
All right. Well,
right,
we're
big
at the
finish.
portion
Yuji
of
also
all
has
of
a
our
bust
interviews.
of those pecs, like physical 100, and actually right at the doorway when you walk through, you see a whole
It's just like
He rubs
it's
them
like
before he
it's a-
leaves. He's like,
plaster.
An oil.
Yeah. It's like Night at the
I love
Apollo.
that
He just
show.
rubs it before he leaves the house. You just like,
Dude,
you know, here.
Physical 100 is the ball.
Yeah, like
I love that.
Notre Dame has that sign where it says "Play like a champion" and they hit it every time.
Yeah, exactly.
He walks out and just slaps each side before he leaves the house.
That's awesome.
All right.
So,
well, we're gonna do the big finish now.
We call this thing the big finish. It's 3 questions. Everybody's got them. Bao's already done them, but feel free to chime in if you want to, Bao. So we asked 3 questions. Same every person has ever come on the show has answered this. Michael probably already knows the questions because he actually showed up and listened to the show, so he probably already knows the questions. But BJ, why don't you start off?
All right. This is for all of you guys. What is your all-time favorite character? And it could be from any genre.
I missed the opportunity. I shouldn't have told you that because I was going to do a bit where I just gave Bao's answers from his interview. I blew it.
That would have been awesome.
That would have been
Michael
really good.
Corleone, you know, and God, if for his birthday, I just get him a get out of jail free card. That'd be so funny. My favorite character is Spider-Man from the J. Michael Straczynski run.
Oh, okay.
Specifically.
So,
Down to the vintage, Michael. Look how I just like narrowed that down.
right? What kind of birthday gift would you give that person?
$5,000. He always needs money.
Just just $5,000. That's enough.
Yeah.
No
All
interest.
right. Same questions for the rest of you guys.
that's a good one.
Mine is the bartender from the Paper Tigers.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck that guy.
Good answer.
When's that guy getting a movie?
Right?
Oh,
Get his
wish,
own
yeah.
movie? That would be amazing. Yuji, what do you think? Who's your favorite all-time character, Yuji, from any genre?
Wow. I think I'm a big fan of Gene Hackman. I'm sorry, I'm not going Asian. I'm going to go with an actor that is not Asian. Gene Hackman in Scarecrow.
Oh, it's Scarecrow. Okay.
Whoa.
Well, if Gene Hackman was your spouse, or the character in Scarecrow, sorry, is your spouse, what would you complain most about them?
God, I think because maybe because he was kind of an asshole. Yeah, probably a little bit of holiness.
I was gonna say, yeah, he was a dickhead.
Yeah, he was kind of a prick. Very prickly.
Alan, what do you got?
Yeah.
Who's your favorite character?
So in Shaolin Soccer, there was that guy who's always smoking. I forgot, but like whenever I see his face, he just makes me chuckle, and he always plays like amazing characters. But that actor in general, but I think in Shaolin Soccer, him.
That's one of your favorite characters. Well, let's see. That would be difficult.
BJ, it sounded like there was some judgment in that.
No, not at all. I'm trying to think of a question.
Like,
a follow-up
that one?
question.
All right, I got it.
Typical.
So him. Well, who would win in a fight? That guy, the smoking guy, or the character from Gene Hackman that Yuji is talking about? Who would win in a fight?
Oh, Gene Hackman
man.
from Scarecrow, or the guy, the smoking guy. Okay.
God.
This Gene Hackman back then was probably pretty scrappy.
Yeah. I would say the guy from Shaolin Soccer. He doesn't have the lung capacity to kind of hang. I think he'd have like 30 seconds to really take down Gene Hackman.
So kind of like Danny in the first round when he just loses
Exactly.
after 30 seconds. He just runs out of gas.
He better concentrate and slow things down, or else he's fucking out. Yeah. So
Oh
Right,
man, I
right.
laughed so hard when he did that. I laughed so hard when he just ran around in circles. Because that's totally something I would do. I'm like, okay, I gotta keep going. I gotta run out the time.
All right, here we go. Next question.
right.
What are you guys watching right now as far as TV shows? Is there something you're binging? Is there something that you must watch, that comes on every week, like The Mandalorian just started or The Last of Us? Anything that you have to watch week to week or you're streaming?
Catching up on The Expanse.
Oh, that's a good one.
Amazon
That's
show.
a good one.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
Right.
Now that it ended, I can finally watch it.
Oh yeah, you're
Um,
a binger, right? Big binger, right?
I don't have the time to get involved in something that's going to go on for like 12 seasons and get shittier as it goes on.
how long
I
did you
haven't.
how long did it take for you to bounce on Lost then?
Maybe half of the first season.
Oh wow.
really?
He's like, I'm out of here.
I
Stupid
eventually
smoke
finished
monster.
it. Yeah, no, I eventually finished it. I was like,
Right.
I love
right.
shitty TV. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like some like, I'm not like some what do you call it, a connoisseur or anything. I love. I'm also watching The Rookie, or watching like
That's
Oh,
not
okay.
bad. Nathan Fillion's awesome.
yeah. Or,
Okay, so if Amos, right? If Amos were to choose any form of transportation between Kit, Airwolf, or Street Hawk, which would it be?
Do they know those? Do they know those vehicles?
it's Airwolf, man.
Airwolf, definitely Airwolf.
That helicopter was so cool.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. The helicopter and the music, just something about that music.
Why do we have Street Hawk on here? Because that's the stupidest vehicle.
I love Street Hawk. Hey,
Was
I
it
don't know
Rex-
how many other
was it Rex
motorcycles.
Smith, who also
Yeah, that's
played
it.
one of the early Daredevil adaptations?
was.
Do you remember that?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he wore
That's right.
he wore the black
Or the-
outfit.
Yeah, that was
I
like
love the-
Frank Miller black.
Yep.
He was
Yeah, that was
already
dope.
rocking that before it was a thing.
Yep.
That one
And the
of the
crossover
Thor-
with
that was-
Incredible Hulk. Yeah,
That was
it all-
great.
Yep.
I mean, so I heard.
Awesome.
That's what my parents told me about these fun shows.
you nerd. So I'll just
I
Google
love Street Hawk, and I love the theme song. So, all right, what do
Street
you
Hawk
got?
was the motorcycle guy.
Yeah,
Street Hawk was a motorcycle guy.
But
It
I
was
remember the
ridiculous.
first.
The motorcycle could go 300 something miles per hour without taking corners at 90-degree angles. It was amazing.
Straight shots, all straight shots. He was just
Yeah.
All straight
the
shots.
criminal was like right down the lane there.
Yeah.
All you had to do was just make a right, and Street Hawk would have just blew right past you.
All right.
Alan, what do you got for what are you?
Oh, that's
binging
right.
now.
Oh yeah. I'm actually currently playing or finishing up God of War on PS5, but
Yes.
the last show I was binging on was Physical 100, and
Okay.
on
It's on
Netflix. And
Netflix.
the most hilarious thing about Physical 100 is not about the show itself. It's actually about the people watching it, because I'm stuffing my face, eating dinner, and I'm with my wife, and I'm totally judging, like,
You're
technique and
judging
shit.
them.
So I'm just like telling my wife, I'm like, no man, that dude's not gonna fucking last because he's not using his knees, all this stuff, and like, they're like all jacked, but I'm the asshole.
And
who's
she
just
turns to you. She's like, "Shut up, fat
Yeah,
ass!" Like, what are you?
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
so,
Oh my
so
God.
here's
That's
my
awesome.
follow up to that. So this one actually works out because I think there actually is a right answer for this one. Usually it's all opinion based, but I think there's actually a right answer for this. But I'll ask it first. If one of those contestants on Physical 100 was dating anybody on Friends, who would it be?
Oh.
Oh damn. I also binged on Friends kind of recently, and damn, Rachel and Monica. Wow. there was a prime season where I was just like, oh my, I totally remember that. I would say Monica, because Monica is, the chef. She's going to be feeding these athletes.
Good one.
I
But
would
yeah,
have went with Monica because she actually dated, John Favreau, who was
that's
doing the
true.
Who
The
was the
Octane.
UFC fighter.
kickboxer?
Yeah.
Yeah, Street
Yeah.
Fighter.
Right,
Yeah.
he was in the Octane. All right, Yuji, what about you? What are you watching? What are you binging right now?
I'm on the final of Rurouni Kenshin, the movie, the Japanese series, the trilogy of the samurai. You ever see that?
No, I
Kenshin?
have not.
Yeah, it's really crazy. It's a crazy
It's wild.
series. Yeah,
What
Lots
is it
of
on a
amazing
streaming service?
choreography.
it's on Netflix.
I think I know what he's talking about. I think
What
it
what
pops. I
what's
think
the
I have it on
main
my list.
what's the main character's name in that movie?
Kenshin.
Kenshin. Okay, what kind of eggs do you think they would eat?
Hard boiled.
Nice. That's a good answer. Awesome. All right.
All right, we
Well,
got one more.
this
We
is
got
the
one more
last.
question.
This is the last question, and then you guys, then we'll let you go or hold them hostage. All right. Last question is, and I know this probably changes all the time because it changes for me, but top 3 movies all time. Top 3 movies of all time. Anybody can go first.
Yeah, The Crow, When Harry Met Sally, and Hard Boiled.
Hard
Nice.
boiled.
Jaws, White Chicks. Don't judge.
I thought you were gonna say like Legally Blonde or something.
And Legally Blonde.
No.
No. God, that third one.
White Chicks is actually pretty damn funny when you like. I
You
remember
know,
when I first watched that. That was so
really
funny.
quick story about that. Like, I refused to watch it because when it first came out, I was like, oh, this is so dumb, blah, blah, blah. 10, 15 years later, I'm watching it with my wife and I'm like convulsing on the ground. Like, it's just like,
Hysterical, right?
it's the level of commitment.
Yeah.
The jokes are so stupid, but they commit so hard. It's funny. Third is Anchorman. I love Anchorman.
Oh, for sure.
Nice.
For sure.
Nice. Okay, that's a good one.
Val, did
What
yours
about you?
change at all?
Oh, just the top 3 on whatever Sight and Sound says today.
Yuji, what about you? Your all-time 3 favorite movies?
Oh man. Let me think about this for a second. I'd say first is probably The Godfather.
Mm.
Next, I think I gotta throw in some Stephen Chow. I like Kung Fu Hustle. And then the final one would be The Paper Tigers.
Nice. Yeah, if you said Karate Kid 3, I was gonna be pissed. It's like not even what he's in.
All right, so
awesome.
before, thank you again for
Thank
spending
you guys
so much time with us. We just want to. I sent you guys something in your emails right now, so hopefully you guys can take a look at it. Bao, you already got one, but I'm going to send something. I want to show everybody after they go check their email really quickly. So what we do is, as you've noticed, Michael, our stick figures. So we
Our
like
art
every guest
department.
that our art department, which is me, which is why why they look like stick figures. But you guys have individual ones. I'm going to send this one too. But this is what this is a first for us to have this many people on the show. And again, thank you so much for coming back or coming on to our comeback episode. But this is the one that I'll send out for the entire team. So I'm hoping some of this makes sense. Bao already gave Bao his. I knew he was inspired by Jackie Chan and stuff, so that's why he's in the Jackie Chan police story outfit with the knee brace. For Ron's character, he's got gym shoes and he's always wearing that blue hat, or he was always wearing that blue hat. So I'm hoping the rest of yours makes sense. So Alan, let's see who's on the first. Okay, Yuji, you're on the top. So does yours make sense to you? Do you understand what you're seeing there?
It looks like I'm a waiter.
Yeah. Okay, Alan. Well, you're a waiter from the movie, so that's
from the movie.
So,
of course.
Yeah. Alan, does yours make sense?
The glasses, the beard. I don't know about the hair. That's not working.
Well, for your show, you know, for your thing, you've cut some. You've cut some. Wait a minute. Which one? Oh, Michael, does
He's
yours
like,
make sense?
I don't remember which one is which.
I don't remember who anybody is.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is. There's a full outfit.
Nice.
So I couldn't find gold
that's me and my
guns
son.
that you had in your Twitter account profile pic. So I had to give you Castor Troy's gold guns from Face Off. So
Is that where you got that from?
that's where the gold
Nice.
guns are. You actually
awesome.
have Castor Troy's gold guns in your hands because I couldn't
Oh, you
find the toy
cheater.
gun that you had. Yeah, but it is Castor Troy. So who doesn't love Face Off?
Yeah,
That's true. That's true.
classic.
So thank
Classic.
you guys again for.
Thank
I'm gonna
you
send
so
this,
much
guys.
for-
I'm gonna
Thank
send
you
this
for
out
having
to
us.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
All right.
We're gonna put
Well,
that
that
on
was.
our wall.
Thank you so much, you guys. That was episode 370 of Chew on This, a Nerds United podcast. I'm BJ.
Vic,
Until next time, folks, chew on that.
later.
All right, later, everyone.